私が思うのは、アメリカのカバーアートと日本のカバーアートはかなり違う。アメリカのは、シンプルでアーティスティックで、内容と関係がない場合もあります。しかし日本はかなり内容を表します。それをどう考えますか？
Yeah, I think that I mean, in the case of Hideki, for example, the cover artist Jeff Langevin is looking for something which evokes the general world of the story. Obviously, we have the kitsune and the character wearing American clothes, but clearly Asian in appearance and carrying the sword, the katana. But I think it's yes, I think there's an overall style that they're trying to capture. This is originally the cover art for the UK edition,
Oh,
and that was determined before the US publisher picked up the book. And when we first talked, the US publisher did not particularly like this cover.
うん。
They thought it was beautiful, but they didn't think it was very dynamic.
Oh.
And other people within the publishing company had to convince the director that this was actually a good cover for this book. And I think it has been one of their biggest selling titles, partly because of the cover art.
それで私は日本人のイラストレーターのモスキーさんにカバーアートをお願いしました。私が最初にお願いしたのは、あまりアニメ的なカバーにはしないでほしいということです。モスキーさんのイラストがアニメ的ではなくて、どこかゴシック的な絵画的な、少し中性的なものを感じました。先ほど AJ は UK 版のカバーをアジア的な顔で、刀を持ってというふうに言いましたけれども、私はモスキーさんにアジアの顔にはしないでほしいというふうに言いました。というのは、日本の読者は多分、日本人があまりに日本的な、アジア的な顔に描かれるのを好まないように思います。それは私が考えすぎかもしれません。まあ、しかし、モスキーさんにはそのように言ったので、彼女は、こういうふうに、まあ、少しアジア的、そしてヨーロッパ的な顔に描いてくれました。その辺のことを AJ はどういうふうに思いますか？
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that the representation is a little bit different for a Japanese audience. And you and I have talked about this as an issue throughout the book, right? That we're and through the translation, and we talked about it with regard to things like formatting and print layout and how would it read front to back or vertically. That people in America like a certain version of Asianness because they think it's exciting or exotic. It's a problem word, but yes.
Yes.
But in Japan, the emphasis is a little different. And one of the first things I noticed when you showed me the first version of the art was that they had blue eyes.
Oh, yes.
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 Where I also thought that the representation of Hideki looked a little bit like part of the video that I made of the for a trailer for the original book, in which my son Kuma
Yes.
drew the sword like this in the video, and I thought that's him,
うん。
and this is maybe Su Metal.
Yes.
Yeah. But also, you know, this sort of the representation of the fire,
うん。
the flame, this sort of the smoky kind of quality to it, which looks to me like something out of a ukiyo-e
Yes.
um, print, you know, like a maybe a Yoshitoshi or somebody like that. And that does not figure on the American or English versions because it doesn't communicate that mystical element that it would to Japanese people, I think.
うん。
I like also the way that the full the rear cover also has representations of the different yokai
うん。
who appear in the story, the Tennome and the Tengu and the Noperabo, and whereas those are not in the American or British versions.
Yes. And,
It's interesting that you said you didn't want an anime look, but it does have a slight manga
うん。
kind of characteristic, yeah? Would you say this version?
まあ、漫画にならないようにというのは、漫画の本と間違えないようにということです。
Mhm. True. Yeah,
えっ
yeah.
これが最初のラフスケッチですけれども、星
Mm,
さんが書いた。
yeah,
で
yeah.
ここにはエミリーがいないです。
Right.
狐だけです。
Yeah, yeah.
彼女は最初はエミリーは必要ないと思ったようです。秀樹だけでいいと。
Mm. Well, like in this version, right? That and in this sense, maybe the title is confusing because the title has only one character name,
うん、
Hideki,
うん、
you know, Deke. Um, but of course, Emily is very important to the story, but because of the way the story is written from Hideki's perspective, even though she is very important and there are other characters in the story who are very important, everything comes from him, which is why why the title has his name only and why the original cover art just shows him. But I think that the Japanese version having Emily on here as well is in some ways more representative of the book and is also probably more appealing to readers, particularly younger readers, many of whom are women or girls, that they want to see a version of Emily also on the cover. So I think I think it aesthetically and in terms of marketing, it's a good choice.
多分、日本の読者は、これを見ると、エミリーとメギツネというふうに
Mm.
理解すると思います。ですから、日本人にとっては、このエミリーとメギツネが書いてあるのが理解しやすいと思います。
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. I don't think that the original cover art does not convey who the fox is or why it's there. Yeah.
で、モスキーさんは、エミリーはどういうキャラクターどういうふうに描くんですかって聞かれたので、私は、AJ はベビーメタルのファンである。だから、エミリーはスーメタルであると言いました。
So does no. Yes, I think
How do you think?
yeah, I mean I saw it immediately when I first saw the cover. I was like, ah, yes. I think she's about to. Akatsuki da!
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think that's appropriate, right? I think, you know, it sounds crazy, but I don't know that I would have written this book without finding Baby Metal and some of these other groups. This is a conversation for another time about the influence of the music on me and on the story that I wanted to tell. But yeah, I think it's an important element.
うん。そして、モスキーさんは、あ秀樹について、こういうふうに言いました。彼女は私の翻訳した文章を全部読みました。その上で、秀樹は内向的で、皮肉屋である。そういう屈折した心を持っている。それを表したと。どう思います？
Think. I don't know if I would say he has a twisted mind, but I mean, yes, he's separate. He feels very separate from the people around him, and he's smart and funny to himself, at least. Um, and I think that as we have said, the part of that separateness is about where he is and how he feels like he doesn't really belong in this community. So I think that partly explains why he is the way he is. Uh, and of course, he's partly me, and he's partly my son. And I think that Moski's representation captures some of that. And I will say, when you're talking about the difference between Japanese illustration and American illustration, is that an American illustrator will never read the book.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. うん。
I mean,
うん。
I really don't think so.
う
I
ん。
think they get certain ideas, the publisher talks to them about certain elements and things, but they're not going to read the book.
うん。
And I mean, and there has been a lot of scandal in American publishing recently about even major companies relying on AI art for covers and, being pressed by artists and by writers to say that they will not use AI art. And the publishers, some of them at least, have said that they will not make that promise. And many publishers are already using a lot of AI generated art. So no, in that case, nobody's reading it. They're just receiving visual prompts. And as you suggested before, often the cover art, the result is very generic.
う
It's
ん。
very familiar because it's literally copying other books. And
なるほど。
nobody's reading.
それで分かりました。中身を読んでないから内容を表すことができないんですね。イラストレーターが。うん。I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. And with the AI art, nobody's reading because it's a machine.
ああ。私が最初にイラストレーターに言ったのは、まず読んでください。全部読んでください。
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
先ほど AJ が秀樹の性格を言いましたけれども、私もそれに共感します。というのは、秀樹は賢い少年だと思います。非常に頭がいい少年だと思います。ところが自分に自信がない。だから内向的なんです。それはすごくよくわかる気がしました。
Yeah, I think that I've had comments from people who connect with Hideki, who feel that they have similar personalities, similar situations. And many of those people, of course, are not Japanese American. They just have other things that make them feel similar, right? And I think that this is one of the good things that a book can do, even if your specifics, even if your particular circumstances are different, you can make a connection by analogy into the situation that a character is in, even when that character's specific nature and situation is different from your own, but the feeling is similar.
うん。昼休みの時間に、友達から声をかけられないように忙しくしているっていうのはすごくわかりました。
So, yeah, yes, I think so. And this is not just an adolescent concern. That many adults
うん。
feel the same way. I don't know in Japan, but many books that are listed as young adult
う
in
ん。
America are read by adults. They're not read by younger people.